headphones because it's just so windy. I find they actually grab the wind. But I would like to say hello, happy Monday. I know, see, new colored hat. It's been sitting up my cupboard and the others are getting a bit worn out. So I think blue's the winner, but I might have to invest in a new one. So I hope everyone is healthy and happy. Now, a couple of just technical things. I haven't tried a YouTube live here in Banff for a while. They were great when I was up in the north, but I have very little confidence here. If it were to cut out and fail, I would switch over and go live on Facebook. So I haven't seen a message yet, but I know there's people there. Oh, there's some people. Hi there. Hi Nat, hi Ann. Nice to see you, everyone. So it is well into autumn, and you know what? I've got lots to talk about, lots to catch up on. Hi there. But I just think before I'm out on our Banff fields, right in front of me is actually where we go skating in the winter. We set that up as a skating rink, which is great fun. Some of you have seen videos of Finn skating around there. The trees are just, well, look behind me. I mean, the trees are just magnificent. So let's just do a quick little switch around here for a second. Look at that. So you're looking out to the Massif Range and Mount Bourgeot with the flat top on it. But look at the trees. Those are aspen trees, poplar family. We're a little too high up for the silver birch. A few little birch kicking around in town. But, oh, you made it. Lovely to see you here. I do want to show everyone something that makes me feel really warm in my heart. If you can see it way in the distance, way up in Massif, right up there is a tiny, tiny dash of snow up there. So that means we have had snow visible from the valley all year round. Our fire risk is on extreme, and that is because we've had a very dry autumn. It's actually a bit of a cooler day. We had a bit of rain last night, but it's a little bit of a cooler day. It's about 18 degrees. It was actually, when I put this up, it was calm as can be, and the wind has been kicking up in the afternoons. It usually does, but it's just kicking up a little bit more. The view is lovely, isn't it? There's our rugby grounds, and talking about rugby, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many people, hi there, Merle. Oh yeah, yes, it is Happy New Year. Yeah, Rosh Hashanah, it's Happy New Year to all of our Jewish friends and family. Little Finn, by the way, is down in Toronto at the moment. So it's a really fun time as well. So yes, Happy New Year to everyone. It's interesting times around this world of ours. But just talking about the rugby field, yes, rugby. So next Saturday, Canadian women are playing the English women in the World Final in Twickenham, which is considered to be kind of the home of rugby. There might be 82,000 fans watching a women's final. It's just fantastic. It's fantastic for women's sport. It's fantastic for international sport. The whole tournament was excellent. The only thing is, I played rugby, and when I watched them play, I'm like, oh my God, are you ever, bring it on, are you ever asking for like a head injury? Do you know, next time when you watch the women playing, they've got this little patch on the back of their jersey, and they have mouth guards. That is actually triggering, if their heads are shook too much, to pull them off and check for concussion. So, I did want to show, there's lots of free chocolate around town here. I was sort of hoping to find you an elk up here. Normally the rut is on. You'll see the pictures that I put up yesterday. It was out here yesterday that I saw the young fellow who had lost half of his antlers. He did not have a fun rut. But the big boy who was down at the golf course all by himself, and I just thought he was maybe injured. Have a look at that view up there. There's Cascade Mountain, and of course Stony Lookout in the distance. But it's really these colors, and I wanted to show you how the river's looking. So I'm obviously, as everyone knows, I hope we're on Treaty 7 territory here. Look at the light, look at the gold touching the sky. Now, this is actually September 20th. Now, many of you knew that I was actually on tour today, and I'm not. I was doing a tour, I was heading up to Jasper, and the people were actually no-shows, which it's the first time it's happened all year, but that's what I get for not taking a deposit, I guess. So I still rather have faith in people but every now and then, you know, things can happen to people. I appreciate that, but you know, people go and make promises and don't live up to them. And people that used up a huge Anyway, I'm quite happy to have a couple of days off. Towards the end of the week, I will be heading up to Edmonton, and I will see that fabulous little boy of mine. And then I will be picking people up off the train, come across the country, and heading over to Jasper and coming down. But for the moment, look at this gorgeous, gorgeous environment here. And yes, it is. I should have put this up as a New Year's trip. So as I say, Finn probably would have signed on, but he is hanging out in Toronto with his special lady friend, and it's only a 2-day visit, really. We were able to get him a flight and with points. Yeah, it is a lovely time. Hi there. It's a lovely time. Look at the marshland down through here. The reeds. You really don't see a lot of this. This is where, if you're going to see a a red-winged blackbird, this is the kind of place you'll see it. These are places to hang out in spring when the migratory birds are coming through. Community greenhouses over here, which is just lovely. And then up in the distance there is, of course, mighty Mount Rundle. And that's the one I always use to explain the geology. But just to come back to the fact that we're on Treaty 7 territory. Thank you, Annie. That's very nice of you. Treaty 7 territory here. You know, the land of the Blackfoot First Nation and the Métis Treaty 3 and the Stoney Nakoda, Tsuut'ina. A lot of talk about indigeneity at the moment as Canada's working on all sorts of big projects, but of course so much of that goes across Indigenous land, and so that's an important conversation to have and to continuously have. So we're in this long process of reconciliation here, and the national parks need to lead that. And I like to think I'm at least a small part of that journey that we're on together as a society, which is really a hopeful thing. This is community housing. I haven't shown it too often on our tours here, but it is it's vital. Of course, we have a shortage of housing everywhere, but I just wanted to come over and walk you through these trees through here. By the way, Mount Rundle up there is 2,998 meters at 10,000 feet at the top peak of it there. But look at these trees out here, and it's just fantastic. And they are, as they call them, trembling aspen, because you'll see the wind blowing on them. I'm in shorts. It's definitely warm enough for shorts. And in fact, I had a interesting conversation, email the other day about one of the people I'm picking up next weekend, saying they had read about the weather and said, you know, it looks cool, but then it says it feels warmer. So, you know, when you live in the East, you hear about the humidex. We don't have any of that sort of thing. And we have wind chill, of course, in this part of the world. But actually, when the sun comes out here, it always feels warmer. So say 16 or 18 here would feel like 24 or 25 elsewhere. There's people collecting leaves, which I suppose is fair enough. Really, being a national park, you shouldn't really be collecting anything. But I'm not going to say too much about that, about leaves. Of course, if I were to say something about the leaves, I would yell at them, "Leave them alone." And then they would look back at me with a funny expression. But let's just take a little wander. So obviously about 90% of our forests are pine here. And then right now the mountain larch will be coming out as well. Look at these gorgeous, gorgeous aspen trees up there. And the perfect blue. Thanks, Nat. Thank you. The perfect blue up there. So yeah, we are still busy. I actually went over to Canmore today. I had an errand to run, and I was stunned being that it's a Monday morning. There was still a lineup of probably 3/4 of a kilometer to get into the park gates. Like this will be a record-breaking year. One measure was saying 1.7 million cars came into town just in July and August. So they still say this number of sort of 4 to 5 million visitors, but if you do the math on it, it's over 7 million coming through. Now, overall, we've handled it quite well. There's always people who seem to think it's exclusively ours or theirs or whomever, but at the end of the day, this is Canada's first and oldest national park. Les beaux arbres, ça fait bien. So let's go over and have a look at the river. And you know, some of you will recognize one of the places that I swim. Here are the basketball courts right here. Now we have new ones in town, down the other end of town. And whoever the town planner was that built the new park, I have to tip my hat to them, because that park is used all the time. They obviously did the right kind of survey. You know, everyone's always criticizing everything. And it's so nice to say, you did a wonderful job. And by the way, I just don't want to make you all salivate, but isn't there the sexiest bike in the world? See that? So Wednesday, I'm going out with my buddy Rod, and we're going to bike. We're going to try and probably bike about 70 kilometers. My bike desperately needs a tune-up, but I'm going to drop it off when I go away next month for about 5 weeks and get the winter tires. So there they are. Bull elk are dangerous, and they are. And that's because this time of year, They're big bodies. They're only, they're fully mature at 8 or 9 years of age, but they become, from being rather docile, they become incredibly aggressive, and that is taken over by testosterone. And that's why I say that video I put up on To Me Travel of the that large male by himself. I'm just wondering if he lost a fight, because normally they would be there with their harem. And so I don't know if he was injured. There, by the way, is Sacred Buffalo Guardian Mountain, which is always gorgeous, Buffalo Mountain. And there is that dodgy, shadowy creature that follows me around. So this is my summer swimming hole right here. I was in the river day before yesterday. Came down. I wear my sandals when I get in the river this time of year because it drops off quite quickly and it's quite hard rock as you come in and out. How's that for a reflection this morning? I mean, I know there's so much information and so much to talk about, but at the end of the day, it's just beautiful. So I'm just trying to see your comment there, Jay. It's still haven't shaken. Oh no, I have. Yeah, always somehow when I'm walking away from the sun, that shadowy creature's there, keeping an eye on me. They're doing some work on the bridge. Now the building up in the distance, of course, is the Banff Centre, and I've been a heavy user of the Banff Centre this year. My gym is up there as well. I actually went swimming there yesterday, and I'll probably go for an evening swim tonight, partly because my evening activity just ended yesterday. I've been glued, and it's so funny because I'm not much of a TV person, but and I don't actually have TV per se. I have that, whatever, the internet stuff, but I've been watching the World Track and Field from Tokyo. And aside from the javelin, the very, very last thing, which was a shame because the circle that it was in was very slippery. Aside from that, it was such a wonderful competition. The Japanese fans, and I actually left messages from my friends Eriko and Miko over there, just saying how wonderful Japanese fans were. And of course, basically, it was their chance to enjoy the events that they couldn't because they hosted the Olympics during the pandemic, if you remember. But they were just such wonderful fans. And I know we have Dutch people on board. What do you think of that? That Femke Bol, a woman who wins the 400 hurdles. I mean, just by 30 meters ahead of everyone else. And then, of course, we have our two hammer throwers from Western Canada, both who grew up in kind of working class families, just fabulous, nice people. It was just so lovely to see them. So down here, the river is just going to keep dropping. It's still turquoisey. That's Mount Norquay there, the first ski hill. And of course, that run towards us was built when Banff applied for the 1960 Winter Olympic Games, which they didn't get. And then, of course, Calgary got 1988. Yeah, I find myself, I think a lot of us, I find myself always cheering for countries that, I like Botswana, showing up with some of the best runners in the world. Jamaica, of course, always exhibits so well. I love the guy from Samoa getting the bronze in discus. How's this for a view back towards Sulphur Mountain back up there? So, yeah, when the trees are out, but this little section through Banff here is from a tree point of view, kind of my favorite. Over there is the Buffalo Luxton Museum, named for Norman Luxton. He was the son of David Luxton, the founder of the Winnipeg Free Press, which was a great newspaper once upon a time. I think it's part of some corporate thing now. But he came and opened the Craig and Canyon, our first newspaper here. And he also reached out to Indigenous people. Now that museum there is run by the First Nations, and that flag up there is the Treaty 7 flag. So it's nice to see that flying. And yeah, so well worth a visit. You really can have a couple of days just in town, visiting museums and so forth. Mount Rundle, so day after tomorrow when I go biking with my buddy, we're going to bike up that valley all the way up, go down the far side, probably into Canmore, have lunch, and turn around and come all the way back. So that's nice, but I will on my bike have to take the charger. But that'll be fun, and it's so dry, the track will be good, but we won't get as dirty as we like to because it's fun to get dirty. Look at this. So beautiful, beautiful clear. Some of you will remember I did a live video up in Carcross in southern Yukon, which is north everywhere else in the world. Do you remember looking into the river and seeing all the fish down in there during their spawning time? Which is lovely to see. Here, sometimes when I'm in the river in the morning, fish will rise around me. Fish will rise. We've got trout and mountain whitefish, but Dolly Varden is the important native fish in here, which is in the char family. Very, very protected. So these big bushes, you might see the red, might see some little red that look like berries. Those are rose hips. So the flowers are, I think they're all gone now. Well, except for the ones right around here. I say that and then there's flowers. But the wildflowers have come and gone. These ones are planted by town. So that was the Nancy Paw Bridge I just walked over. But we had a gorgeous flower season. So did you see this mesh around the younger trees? That is to stop the beavers from eating them. So the beavers will come chew those down in just a few bites. So art in nature. Now this whole art display is up here until the 31st of the month. So I will be home on the 31st. Yeah, what is the... that's a great question, Jay. Takara, like glistening on water. Yeah, that's probably Iroquois in origin. Iroquois travelers who came west when they were surveying or coming out. Well, really for the fur trade at the beginning. That's a great question. The Takara Lodge, I believe, in Jasper burned down. Nature's wisdom. Look at the leaves that have fallen. And then Ralph Waldo Emerson, the earth laughs in flowers. You're very welcome. You know, it's actually interesting you bring that up. I was just thinking of Takara the other day. I love that term. So this is connection and ripples and reflections. Lise Lavallee Finlay and then Lucy Bowes are the two artists. I love the fact they took one tree, cut it up and gave it to so many artists throughout the valley with the ability to express themselves really in whatever way. See, these are rose hips. You can, by the way, boil that down and make tea out of them because everybody likes rose hip tea. And there is thistle, but that, I believe, is actually invasive. I think the problem with it, though, is it's been here so incredibly long now that it's kind of considered part of the ecosystem. Now, there's the Alberta pigeon over there, and there's a magpie, precocious as can be and intelligent as can be. Now here is one of my favorite quotes. There is a crack in everything. Now that's Michael Cameron, but of course that's a famous Leonard Cohen quote. That's how the light gets in. Oh, the river is perfect. So danger falls ahead. Although I think I'm gonna be okay, just because I'm not floating. But I like the picture. They're not joking around, eh? Do you know, one of the tourists, see that? Shows your canoe going over the cliff. And full of vitamin C, absolutely. Yep. Do you know, it was interesting. One of my tours this summer, I've just met such really interesting people, and someone was pointing out that there's a varied nature to all of our signs. Like, they're not all just the same sign. You know, not everyone that says cliff is the same cliff sign or something. And I think that's actually really fun. I think it's something I'd never noted myself, being a Canadian. But that, yeah, you go around over the distances, and it's, you know, the signs as they're needed are interpreted different ways in different places. It's kind of fun. You know, as long as the sign achieves what it needs to, which is telling you what you need to watch out for, then it doesn't kind of matter, you know, whether it's consistent or not. I am glad, however, that green, yellow, and red lights are consistent. That's actually a good thing on behalf of everyone. Now, they're doing some work on the outside of the Parks Museum here as well. In fact, there's a ton of work going on around town. But then we were so busy that this summer that they haven't been able to do much work. And then, of course, you can't do a lot of it in the winter. Oh, hi there, Joanne. Well, that's okay. Lovely to have you here. Nice to connect. I hope people have been going on Pam's tours at Lake Louise. I often check in on them after the fact. I've been trying not to do the actual tours on the Facebook page because they're only kept for 30 days, whereas here on YouTube, they're here forever. Also, you may have noticed on the big To Me Travel Facebook page, there's suddenly a lot fewer of just the really silly gifs and images. So I finally found a program, but it did cost me $300 for the year to block all of those. Here are the bison, crusader of the land. And of course, bison were reintroduced to this park, 2017. So a lot of talk. And there you go. Parks Canada acknowledges that Banff National Park is within the present-day territories of Treaty 6, 7, 8 First Nations, as well as the Métis homeland. So I don't know if that comes through on the screen very well, but it's fairly, well, it's significant. But I thought, actually, no, well, let's go up top and I'll give you the beautiful view down the valley. And then, but it's so nice to connect with everyone. And there's lots to talk about. Oh, by the way, so Canmore, Canmore was so gorgeous today when I went over there. I regretted not having taken the gimbal with me. So it would have been so nice to do a tour. So maybe maybe later this week or something, because it's going to be this kind of sun every day. I mean, this is how spoiled we are at the moment. But Banff Avenue is still full of life. Like, I think, people think that the busy season ends as soon as the kids go back to school, but it isn't. This is much more the tour bus time of year. So historically, September in some ways was even busier, but this is where you have your tour groups. Oh, actually, this is a very appropriate time to come up and show everyone a few things. Hola, bienvenidos. Bienvenidos aquí. Estoy en mi pueblo, en Banff, con 18 grados, soleado, un poco de viento. El lunes, pero ya estamos lleno todavía. So for my friends who speak Spanish, I was just doing a contract this morning with a hotel in the Amazon. How cool is that? But as we come along, I want to show you the Rundle Church across the way, because they're putting up the orange shirt. So September 30th is Orange Shirt Day, and that's where we start to acknowledge what happened to so many children. So let me just give you a little bit of heavy talk for a minute, which is really important. So Canada was created in 1867 as a response to the purchase of Alaska by the Americans from Russia, trying to take over the whole continent. Look at this view down here. And then Canada passes the Indian Act, where they create reserved land, not reservations, reserved land, where people are held in reserve until they are civilized. You can't make this stuff up. And then we take their children from them and put them in residential schools, the last one closing in about 1998. Somewhere between 4,000 and 10,000 children never came back, right? And that's what all these little shoes are about here. And the 30th, will I be able to do a tour? Maybe. I am on tour that day, but I'll certainly try. There they are putting it up. Now, this is at United Church, named for Minister Rundle, who was a missionary brought out by the Hudson's Bay Company. So in honoring school survivors and those who made it home. So every child matters, right? Very, very important process. And I think it's very important to have this displayed. 1936, Alberta was the only province to set aside land for Métis. Settlements are located north of Edmonton. 1918, about 5,000 Indigenous Canadians served in World War I. They were denied veterans benefits on their return home. So, these are conversations that need to be had, and they need to be had. And I'm glad we're having them. And I think we are living in a world where so much free speech is being oppressed right now. Let me also stress the fact that I am a huge fan of Jimmy Kimmel. But even if I were not, that sort of erosion of free speech is just a horrendous attack on everything most people in the democratic world purport to be values. Now, why are people honking? There you go. Now, we've got some... is he back tomorrow night? Seriously, Merle? If he is, well, if that's the case, I'm thrilled to hear that. Well, that is just the best bit of news. I cannot wait. I hope he doesn't hold back in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. In fact, I'm actually going through one of my phases right now. Jewish New Year's a little bit like Lent, right? So I go through this phase where I'm doing an almost vegan diet and no booze, but that would be a thing to celebrate with a beer. There's a motorcycle out there. So it's, but yeah, I'm thrilled. It really, really made me happy with that news. Now, let's just cut across, because heck, why not? I really am not a fan of those noisy motorcycles, and I'm really not a fan because they terrify wildlife, just so you know. So it's not that I'm anti-motorcycle, I'm anti the really noisy ones. I have seen bears run up trees panicked from them. So, but there's the famous view down Banff Avenue there. But I'm going to stick closer to the river, and I want to because it's just such a gorgeous day. There's a picture of the boss. By the way, be careful of what you read about the boss. He's our biggest bear. He's, zero alcohol beer. That's good. Yeah, just staying away from all that stuff. But yeah, but yes, it would be the time to go out and celebrate with a beer. But I should have had champagne last night with a Rop who got a bronze medal, guy who grew up in Edmonton, 800-meter runner. I think I could keep up with him for the first 5 paces. But anyway, let's head up to the river one more time because it's just too gorgeous not to share the environment. But yeah, the boss, I say be careful what you read about the boss because one of the stories that goes around says he's been hit by a train twice. Now, my car cannot survive being hit by a train. So I think when they say that, it was probably train shunting and it jumped out of the way where things can be exaggerated in a way. But very impressive bear. The 2 bears at the top of Grouse Mountain in Vancouver, of course, do live as if their life were wild, but they are in captivity. And they're both in their mid-20s now. The boss is probably 24, 25 years old. That tends to be kind of the lifespan of a big bear. Although there is one that made it to 32. So it'll be interesting to see how long he lasts for. Wishing him well. And wishing our bear population well, needless to say. Now that public school bus there, it probably is actually a school bus coming back. Yeah, they're out for the school runs now. This time of day, but they also go down and pick up people who are rafting. That's fun. I don't know if I pointed this out before, but over by the Legion here is a memorial to the Korean War and Canadians who served in that particular war. There just have been very few monuments in this country to those people. And, another important time. I really like Korea. Again, coming back to the World Track and Field, try and go back and Google a Korean high jumper. He was, I think he got the silver medal. Kiwi got the gold, who was also a lovely athlete. But the Korean guy just enjoyed the competition so much, he just smiled the whole time. It was just so nice to see people enjoying sport. There we go. People are stopping. The sidewalk is closed around here, so that's... sorry, the sidewalk is closed. So don't seem to take note of such realities. So the park administration building was up top from us. So I don't know what everyone else is planning for the winter. I've got some really exciting travel come up. I'm running a trip in fairly early October to Italy, and that is all done and dusted. Look at the rhubarb, all gone. Now what's really cool here, you see all these pine cones everywhere? I mean, more pine cones than you can imagine. These are all the squirrels throwing them down on the ground and then going out and hiding them. And they hide them and then they forget where they hide them, but they stash them all winter long. So that's something the squirrels do. And you always know when winter's starting to come because they are frenetic. That's quite funny as well. Here is a little young maple. Maples do not grow here. And this one has been making a go at it for as long as I can possibly remember. So you get a Canadian scene you don't see in this part of the world. There's the river really starting to fall now. So every day, this morning there was frost on some of the boardwalks. It was about 3 degrees. But this is again that world of extremes we have here, where we can be below freezing in the morning and upwards of 20 degrees, which is about 70 in the afternoon. I mean, isn't that just remarkable? As worlds of extreme. Also, this is all Buffalo Street. So these are some of the very few houses in town that have permanent or perpetual leases rather than rolling leases. And there's a house on the river that actually sold. That is just amazing to me. That's nice of you to say. I think Canadians, as a rule, are pretty relaxed people. The reputation for being nice, pretty nice reputation to have. This beautiful picture. So, Trail of the Cedars, Waterton Glaciers International Peace Park. Certainly, we're so international here. We've had statistics. I was talking earlier about the 1.7 million cars that have come into the park this year. And when they've put up, I guess, some really effective cameras. And about 30, I think they were saying about 30% of cars are from out of province, and about 26 or 27% of cars coming in to town are actually rental vehicles. Now, we recognize rental vehicles here, and I don't blame someone renting a car for not knowing where they're going, but I will say that I never understand, and it happens all the time, where I am often passed on the road by a rental car, and I think when the speed limit says 90, which is what it is on the highways here, and I'm doing 92, and someone races by me at 110 or 115, why would you speed in a place where all the locals aren't speeding? You know, when you've rented a car. Also, you know, that's the nature of the beast. So not very long ago, well, 6 weeks ago or so, I was swimming right where you're standing now. See that? And now I'm dry as can be. Now, obviously, nice fresh water. This is the east slope of the Rocky Mountains. I'm kind of hoping, so I'm going to be away from sort of end of the first week of October all the way to, I think, November 12th. So I will come home to winter, absolutely. And sometimes in November, we're super lucky where the ice will have frozen, but we won't actually have that much snow. Now, I'll want to ski, and I already have my ski pass, of course, Lake Louise, of course. But I'm really hoping that, like, the lake, because a couple of years ago I was able to skate the whole of Lake Louise, and there's a lake out east of us called Gap Lake, and it's very, very windy out towards the little town of Exshaw. But it blows it off and it cleans the ice. So I'm in a very much a skating mood in November. And then December becomes skiing. December I will be down in Peru again. And of course I'll be in Nepal, which I'm extremely excited about at the very end of October, Halloween in Nepal. And so lots of really fun travel to do. I don't know if anyone on board here lives in Italy, but I will be catching up with my dear old friend Stuart, who I have engaged as my Rome guide for my group, because you have to be licensed there, and plus he's a brilliant guide and my good friend. So if you're going to Rome, actually if you're going anywhere on earth, make sure you check in with me, and I can hook you up with guides. And absolutely, so Vanessa in Lima will be doing a city tour for my group, and I can do a Lima tour. I just think Vanessa's a fabulous guide. And then of course Arequipa will be up there. Well, that's lovely, Merle. Listen, shalom, and have a wonderful celebration. Yes, I'll call my kid is getting on a plane tonight, 6 Toronto time, which is 8 our time, and flying back to Edmonton. So I'll see him on the weekend. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you know what? Just with the gorgeous trees and the trembling aspen behind me, it's probably a good time. It's already been over 30 minutes. So, hey, thanks for connecting. Thanks for your contributions, everyone. And please keep in touch. Oh, it's my pleasure. So nice to connect. I know I've owed you a live tour. If you haven't gone back and looked at the ones from the north, please do. And please share them around. Like, particularly places like Tuktoyaktuk, and the day that I had it in Carcross, the weather was just so perfect. And then, you know, Yellowknife is just one of the best places in the world. Anyway, this is my home, and it's nice to share it. So, hey, it is sunny here. Lots of love, everyone. Take care. Peace and love. Oops, there we are. Art in nature. Just give you one last view. You're very welcome. Bye-bye.